Good morning. How are you? Um, I've been on YouTube for a while. Really, my channel's just fooling around for the most part, and it's got miscellaneous stuff, mostly stuff that I filch from other uh, channels, actually, and from also from Twitter. I've been wanting to share my ideas about reparations and why I'm for reparations for the descendants of American slavery as a as the grandson of immigrants who grew up in New York. I'm now relocated to Virginia. That's been pretty recent. We just moved here this week, actually, last week, and so I guess I'll start with what you could call an American tale, which involves my paternal grandfather and his mother and siblings. Okay, back in the turn of the 20th century, my grandfather left Poland and he came to New York. He was a Polish Jew. He came to New York for a better life, and the idea was to work, to save money, to send money back to Poland, and eventually pay for the passage of his wife and 4 children, which he did. And the story, though, is very interesting, and it intersects sharply and closely with the issue of reparations. And here we go. When he got off the boat, he didn't speak a word of English, barely knew where he was, barely could understand what was going on around him. But public baths in New York. In fact, I remember public baths. I think they closed the last one on Essex Street when I was about 18 years old. I'm 75 now. And the immigrant workers would generally, I don't know if they had to pay a nickel or something, to shower up and change their clothes. So between the bathroom and the public bath, that's how he kept himself relatively clean. Eastern European Jewish immigrants and Italian immigrants also were being hired into the garment industry, which was a big industry in New York City at the time. And some of that stuff about the struggles of immigrants actually was true and did pertain to him and his life. He lived in the factory. He slept on a pile of rags basically every night, and he ate very frugally from a food truck that would come around, and he washed himself in the bathroom. And he did this for, I think, 4 or 5 years it was. And finally, he was able to send for his family. And they came, and not too long after that, he bought a house. Actually bought a house. A garment worker bought a house. My father was the first of the family born on this side, and his first language was Yiddish. He didn't learn English until he went to public school. Anyway, why am I talking about this, and what has it got to do with reparations? Well, when my grandfather got here, there were no black workers in that factory. That's number one. Okay? So, right from the jump, right from the get-go, my grandfather had an in. He was part of a network. And he got himself a job, and he was able to pursue his goals and meet his goals. Okay. Eventually, the workers in the garment industry actually unionized. They formed strong unions. They got increases in pay and benefits. What was happening to black workers? Well, black workers didn't work in those factories. There weren't that many of them in New York at the time. At that time, what there existed in this country was something called the Black Belt. And the Black Belt is a stretch of counties ranging from eastern Texas right through Delaware. And in these counties, the majority of the people were of African American descent and were descendants of slavery. If it weren't for the fact of slavery building up the cotton industry to begin with, there never would have been a garment factory for my grandfather to work in. That's number one. So there were generations of unpaid slave labor that built up the garment industry that allowed my grandfather to come here and pursue his goals and meet them. At the same time, while he was working in the factory and while he and his fellow workers, Eastern European Jews and Italians, were building their union, the African Americans in the Black Belt were mainly confined to agriculture and sharecropping or tenant farming, and that involved living on someone else's land, obviously, basically in terrible conditions, and for very little pay. The conditions really weren't very much better or very much different from chattel slavery for them. And if they weren't out picking that cotton every day, sun, rain, wind, whatever, there wouldn't have been an industry for my grandfather to work in. Okay? Now, is it fair and is it just that I have benefited, although in my own personal circumstances, I didn't do too well. I'm not very much of a success. But that has more to do with problems that I personally had rather than my circumstances. Because most of the people who have similar stories to mine are well-to-do and they're professionals. So, what I want to say, and I guess I'll wrap it up right here, is that there's a debt due to those of my generation who were descendants of slavery, and somebody's got to pay it. I became very sharply aware of this watching videos by why can't I remember his name? I'll put a link below. And Reset Race. And okay, I hope that we have a discussion about this, and I'm going to be coming back with more about this. So if you appreciate what I'm saying, or if you hate what I'm saying and you want to hate follow me, go right down there, click subscribe, and click that thumbs up button so more people can see this and hate me. Okay? Thank you.